Gemini, there's a focus on what matters to you the most. There's a focus on trying to discern what is illusion and what is true to your own empowerment. What do you need to empower you, as opposed to what illusion do you buy into? This is for you, Gemini. This is the Arcana Veil. Discomfort is tangled up. There's some sort of discomfort there and being tangled up in certain energies and things that seem to be tied up to your energy. Coffin. Do you have a lot of ghosts from the past coming forward to you? Someone that you've cared for in the past. Someone that loved you in the first house. So this is for the Gemini collective overall. If there is any Gemini in your chart, this would be for you as well. And it pertains to the first house. So therefore, this is for the self. To what do you invest a lot of information or energy to, because you are the fastest moving air sign in terms of the mercurial messaging that you are receiving, constantly looking to see what comes to you and what you can use to ping it back. I hear pinging back the message. Perhaps playing tennis with the mind. There's a lot of things that you need to maybe disconnect from that are a bit too much for your focus right now, and it tangles you up. Are there some fears that you need to clear up? Is there a fear for some of you of dying, perhaps? If you have a fear of dying, let me set your mind at ease here, just on the side, that death in itself is not the end. And everybody says that, yes, but it is true, because this embodiment that you are in, your vessel that you have within this reality, is only the vessel that you use to traverse from one point to the other. It's how you traverse that is what should matter. Six of Cups with the feeling of discomfort, the memories coming from the past. You are dealing with clearing up the history of perhaps old belief systems. Here we're seeing the sun in contradiction to the coffin, and yet also within the nature of itself, there's mythology believing that when the sun sets, it is the death of the old. And when the sun rises, the sun brings life again. We have the moon in diagonal, in direct opposition. The moon over the first house. It's a lot of illusions that you're busy disconnecting from. A lot of things that are trying to attach itself to you. You're working hard, Eight of Coins here, to try and set the record straight. Oops. Seven of Wands, there it is. Setting the record straight. Eight of Coins, Seven of Wands, fighting for what it is that you believe, not what is being projected onto you by old belief systems here. Very much an important part of your journey in what you're encountering as the twins, where you will have to operate from both parts within the consciousness itself, but to remain in a balanced space within. The heart is shadowed by the moon, in a sense that it is a softer light. Perhaps some of you are seeking out some deeper conscious energetic reasoning on the deeper side of things that relate to your personal self. In that, we can see that there's also some of you that are encountering or experiencing the memories of the past, the family, nostalgia that don't always feel too fantastic if you think about it. And within the nature of the feminine principle itself here, hard at work, so we know that it's not related to your money overall. And if it was related to your money, you're still being shown that you're working diligently. You've got 8 of coins here. It's more than perhaps what you perhaps have had before. But you find yourself having to defend every step that you take. It does feel as if you are stepping through a very specific path or portal that you may have chosen to go into. Within the nature of the subconscious or the underworld, we will look and see what you can draw out from there. These all 3 came out, and I will take them, obviously. Okay, we will take all of them, starting from the 9 of Wands underneath the 6 of Coins. It's not as bad as it appears to be, because clearly the memories to you are also fuel for your fire that you quench. You desire fire in a sense within yourself. 8 of Swords here under the moon. Under the sun. Sorry. Where you are literally looking at, and this one was there, and this one was there, in that order. You're looking for an order of a certain pattern that will sustain you. Ace of Sword, it is the truth in how to navigate through this maze of projections, of discordant thoughts that are perhaps being projected onto you in some way, shape or form. For some of you that are not so deeply tied up to those things and that are not venturing too deeply into it, you are also being shown that you have the capacity and the ability to establish a new way of thinking on things so that you don't become too tangled up by the old beliefs in itself. King of Wands under the moon itself may also represent certain people that are perhaps doing things behind your back, but then if this is not a person, if you can't think of someone like that, and don't become paranoid, because that is the shadow side of Gemini, to become paranoid perhaps by everything that moves in the shadows, which could maybe be causing the discomfort in the first place. But I can see that most of you have your heads set straight. Ace of Swords here and 8 of Swords underneath the sun, where you are being shown to clarify and to cut things through that is important for you to believe in. Your own pathway, in other words. You are driving to establish your own direction. You don't want to become part of the mundane anymore. There's a 3 of Cups here under the 8 of Coins, showing that you will soon be coming into group support for business. You're perhaps going into business. You are already you are protected in your financial sector. If you are new to this, in terms of how I read the energy of the mind, body, soul and spirit in the way that it communicates with the reality. In other words, there is a metaphysical connection between that which is within to that which is outside of itself, and its relationship with that, because that is how the being or the embodiment of the spirit essentially is operating and learning to understand itself as it traverses through the realities. The spirit, as in that is within you. You also have a soul, which is the interface, which is most likely what we're looking at right now. I needed to tell you that for some reason, so now you know. 9 of Wands here is a completion of old memories, building new ones by bringing it into focus, by letting go of certain older memories that you don't require to take with you anymore. Your journey should become lighter. It is part of your archetypal nature, because you are air and therefore you are lighter than a feather, and that is how it should be. Yet there's a lot of fire King of Wands underneath the moon. I'm being drawn to look at the moon, the center point, the heart of the nature here, especially with regard to the first house, that there's definitely a clarifying or a clearing up or a healing taking place within the nature of yourself. You could be the King of Wands in its masculine form, whether because you are setting a tone, a pathway, an idea in place, and you're doing it in a way that is not for everyone, the moon. And it is because of your own personal nature, the first house. Therefore, this can be interpreted as doing something for yourself for a change as opposed to everything for others, because you also tend to do that for people. You tend to go out of your way to protect people, to protect that which you feel you must believe and protect. We have the Fool here, right over the Nine of Wands. This is the bridge now taking you. This is part of your archetype. The Fool is to become focused on this new journey. What I'm seeing here is, for those of you, is that you have encountered now your new timeline that you are operating within, and you don't want to take old junk with you. You want to actually focus on this timeline as something that is concise towards you, your personal nature in which you're going towards. You want to start it fresh and new. It is uncomfortable. For sure it is. Discomfort is uncomfortable. We have the Nine of Swords here, right next to the right in diagonal to the Nine of Wands here. So you have the fire and the air very strongly coming into its perspective for you. The Nine of Swords over the sun and that which is setting, or death, or the coffin ending off of the worry of having had to carry so many things. I can see a scenario of someone who has been working for a company for many years and has finally become aware, Hierophant in the heart, we know that you're letting go of that. You're now becoming a director and you're sitting around the table now. You want to see what everybody else can do because you've done it all already. Hierophant points out that you have. Hierophant capacity to be able to establish this new ability of your consciousness in its elasticity and how it moves between being able to ascertain an idea and to disconnect from another idea that might not be supportive of this new idea, and then having to work around it, the fire, the King of Wands, to illuminate that idea and then to write it down and then to go towards that. This is the inner mechanisms of your mind, of how it operates with your mercurial, let's call it superpower that you have within you. Queen of Swords here. And in your feminine nature, the feminine aspect of your consciousness is the Queen of Swords, very much in a balance here. King of Wands and Queen of Swords, fire and air. Again, you are establishing things and bringing it to the surface. Some of you may have social engagements with people of the public and you are talking a lot of sense. You are speaking a lot of things to people and they're picking up on it because they can feel the warmth of the fire that you are lighting up with your air. And in conclusion, the Seven of Swords here, right over the Seven of Wands, that's what you're protecting against. Mental theft, things that come into the mind that make you feel like you lose those ideas because you've become hyper focused on what it is that you want, on your course of your own journey, and there's been a lot of cluttering around you that's trying to disconnect you and distract you, illusions, with messages that may be related to things that you've already dealt with. So why go back into the past listening to things that you've already experienced? It's very micro focused on those things that don't really help you in the long run. For some of you, the need to be perfecting everything in your consciousness is your nature. Yes, we know. But perfect the ability to be able to become aware of how you process and perceive things, rather than to perfect the actual thing or the story or the entity that you're dealing with, or element. When I say entity, I'm speaking metaphorically. If you are not, if your mind is not cluttered up, or if you are not experiencing any of that fogginess over the thoughts, perhaps, then you are being given a heads up here to be mindful of a certain King of Wands that may try to look at your information and maybe do some diddling in the background by focusing on your mental, on your thoughts, on your intellectual property is what I'm saying, to protect that. How do you protect that? By constantly altering the way that you understand things within yourself. You become completely unattainable. Nothing can attain you or take you into another story without your permission. You are not Alice, and you are not whimsically running through the mirror, or the mirror of illusions. Hypothetically speaking, I'd like to see about the Seven of Swords here. So, Seven of Cups. Okay, so it's definitely a mental thing. It's not an actual thing. So you got to watch your mind and where it goes into all the alleys, that you don't get lost in the translation of putting yourself in the right direction. Gemini, this was for you, your reading. Until next time.